Greetings, I am Mark Deutrom. I'm a guitarist, composer, producer, even a bass player, which will be relevant to what I'm talking about today. Today I'm going to talk about 5 cool bass riffs. How many cool bass riffs are there in the world? 1 billion. There's a billion cool bass riffs out there. I'm picking 5 today. And I'd spoken about 5 cool bass players in the past, and I realize I'm actually going to be talking yet again about another one of them. And so let's get started with 5 cool bass riffs. The number 1, these are not actually rated in order of importance or anything, to not throw anybody under the bus. None of these people can be thrown under the bus because they are all amazing. Anyway, the number 1 is going to be the bass riff for the theme song to the movie Bullitt. And it sounds like this. And it's really cool and it's amazing. And guess who plays it? None other than probably the most recorded bass player of the 20th century. That is none other than Carol Kaye, the famous lady bass player from Los Angeles in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. I think she put in a good solid 40 or 50 years playing bass and played on everything from the Beach Boys, the famous Good Vibrations bass line, to the Carpenters, to 1 million other things. But as I mentioned, she plays this opening bass riff on this super cool thing written by composer Lalo Schifrin. Lalo Schifrin may sound a little bit familiar to you because he is a great movie composer, and most famously wrote the theme song to Mission Impossible. Anyway, he wrote this ultra cool bass riff that Carol Kaye plays on. Incidentally, I did get to meet Lalo Schifrin, which was a high point in meeting famous people. Found myself in New York City, saw Lalo Schifrin was playing at a jazz club with Ron Carter. My wife, Jennifer, has actually created yet another amazing drawing of Carol Kaye playing in the studio. And if you would like to own this drawing, go to the link below. So one of the things that makes this bass line super cool is the cleanness and the punchiness of it. It sounds like she's doing a little bit of palm muting on the bass, and it's probably written to be played that way. It's kind of a staccato riff, but it's got plenty of space around it, and that space is needed for when the big horn motifs come in later. So this is just awesome. And the way that it's mixed nice and loud. So once again, I recommend picking up the soundtrack to this because it's super cool. It was recorded in 1967, I think. 68. That's when the movie came out. And it's an awesome soundtrack. And put it on in your car and drive like you're in the movie. See what happens. The next song I'm going to talk about is a song by a band called Vanilla Fudge. But first, this song was recorded by a group called the Supremes, the famous singing group from the 1960s, and this song was recorded in 1966. You Keep Me Hanging On. It's one of the most famous Motown songs. A gigantic, gigantic hit. I actually remember hearing this on the radio in the car when I was a kid living in Germany, and I really liked the song. I thought it was a great song. And it was a massive hit in 1966, so of course, what would a budding rock band do in 1967 but do a cover of a song by the Supremes? It sounds improbable and absolutely insane, but it's what this band did, Vanilla Fudge. And I have spoken about this band before because I did a video on 5 drummers that you may not have heard of. And one of those drummers was this guy, Carmine. Kaye, who went on to play with Jeff Beck and also Rod Stewart. I think he might even be one of the co-writers of the song Do You Think I'm Sexy by Rod Stewart, because he played in Rod Stewart's band. Anyway, the bass on this is played by this man right here, Tim Bogert, who also sang lead in Vanilla Fudge and is a great vocalist. I actually have a DVD of his called How to Sing Rock Vocals. And of course, I've not ever managed to be quite as good as Tim Bogert, either as a singer or a bass player. But his bass playing on this song is absolutely perfect because he's playing bass around the vocal line as he sings. And the bass lines are not at all completely intuitive. He's not playing on the beat. He's kind of playing on the offbeat. And he's doing all these really super cool melodic triads that are based around the chord changes up high. He's got a great smooth tone with a nice amount of sustain and just a hint of distortion on there, probably playing through one of those flip-top Ampeg amps that everybody used to play through in the studio in the 60s. And more than likely he's either playing a tele bass or a P bass because it just sounds like that. So I also recommend this CD right here, which is all of their singles collected together, and the mono mixes are on here, so you can really crank this, and the bass is nice and loud on it. So I recommend this, or if you want to get into something a little more pricey, you should get this reissue of their first record, which is on two 12-inch 45 LPs, and this is actually the way to hear it. But if you want to go for something a little bit more affordable that sounds almost as good, you can get this. Also, you get these amazing photos of the Vanilla Fudge. As an extra special bonus related to today's bass subject, there is a painting of this, and the painting is called Wide and Low. And this is in fact the headstock of my Fender Custom Shop bass, the only bass that I still actually own. The link is below. This is awesome. I love this. Next bass riff I'm going to talk about is on this record here, which is a Miles Davis record called Big Fun. And this is a nice Japanese import version of it, but it is readily available on all the streaming services and CD, of course. And what makes this bass line particularly amazing, by the way, it's a song called Great Expectations. I think it takes up an entire side of this record. And the cool thing about this is it has two bass players playing the bass line. One guy's called Harvey Brooks, and the other bass player is called Ron Carter. Ron Carter, of course, played with Miles Davis for a long time, played in another band called VSOP, which contained Miles Davis alumni. Also a great thing to check out. But the bass line on this is really cool and is just kind of ultra low because it's got two bass players playing it. An electric bass player, Harvey Brooks, and a stand-up bass player, Ron Carter. Definitely check this out. It's this super doomy, ultra low bass sound that's happening, and It's super cool. Also on this particular song, we have an amazing collection of players. There's Herbie Hancock, Chick Corea, Billy Cobham and John McLaughlin, Bernie Maupin, Airto Moriera, and Khalil Balakrishna playing electric sitar. Incidentally, Great Expectations was part of the session work that was done for the Bitches Brew record, and also tracks from the Jack Johnson sessions are also on Big Fun. While it's not really an official Miles Davis record, since it is comprised of outtakes, it's definitely worth picking up and listening to. And I think it was recorded in 1969, so that makes sense that it goes in there with the Bitches Brew sessions. Moving forward to the year 1973 finds us with this CD right here. And I'm holding up the CD because this was not available on, it might be on vinyl at this point, but I'm not sure. But it's basically a show, it is a show that King Crimson played in November 1973. And this is worth getting. It's the entire show. And the bass that I'm talking about on here is played by none other than John Wetton, amazing electric bass player who was in King Crimson for a number of years. And excerpts from this record, which is called The Night Watch, found their way onto the record that they made after Lark's Tongue in Aspic, which is a record called Starless and Bible Black. I've actually spoken about Robert Fripp in a previous video where I mentioned going to see King Crimson in 1974, the year after this was recorded. And incredibly, when I was doing the research for this, I wanted to basically make sure that I got the date right on the King Crimson show that I saw in 1974. And I went to the DGM archive, which is the official archive for King Crimson, and I put in King Crimson El Paso. And the date of the show came up that I went to, which was, I think, June 8th, 1974. And they had a description of the show, and they have a soundboard recording of it. And then they actually had me talking about the show on the DGM website, which was really amazing to me that they'd hoovered up my tiny piece of information talking about going to that show. And I mentioned how the show was really loud, and I think this was hoovered up because I'm talking about it on the video where I'm mentioning Robert Fripp and talking about going to that show. So on the DGM Live website, they've actually got this quote from me, probably from when I was talking about both Robin Trower and Robert Fripp on my previous video about 3 guitar players I was listening to. I've pulled up the page where it has whoever talking about the show in El Paso, June 8th, 1974. I don't know if Robert Fripp wrote this or if like a manager of the site wrote it. So skipping forward to the part about me, with a bill that included Robin Trower Band opening, Crimzo in the middle, and 10 years after, all headlining for just $5. It's sometimes worth remembering how King Crimson stood out from the standard rock band modus operandi at that time. M. Deutrom was in the crowd and recalled that, quote, their sound was almost painfully loud and suffered from a combination of excruciating treble frequencies and a multi-purpose venue that was more suited to car shows and wrestling. I do remember KC being excellent despite the sound and my unfamiliarity with most of their set. The show was much discussed, with the general consensus being that Robin Trower was someone to watch and King Crimson was really weird but cool. Please note that this concert was released on CD as part of the Road to Red box set in 2013. So I think this was a big, crazy box set that King Crimson put out that has like 30 shows in it from that particular tour. So going to the DGM live site to just innocently look up some material about that particular show, I was quite astounded to find my name in there being quoted. So once again, as I've mentioned in the past, you never know who's paying attention or who's looking. And Robert Fripp, if you're out there, thanks for looking and listening. And I understand that you did just recently have a heart attack, so I hope you feel better. And thanks for allowing me to be a very minute part of your history. This feels very cool. Thanks. So while there wasn't a bass solo at the show that I went to, this whole thing entitled Improv stroke The Fright Watch is pretty much a bass solo by John Wetton. And it's worth listening to because it really shows what a great player he was. Interesting stuff that he would come up with. This whole show has a lot of improvisational aspects to it, and they're all really great. And it sounds, since the show is at the Concertgebouw in Amsterdam, probably the audience is high as a kite because they're sitting there transfixed and completely silent as all this stuff goes on. So I remember that in the Melvins playing in Europe was always a good time because they would sit there and actually listen to what you were doing without yelling in the middle of it, like American audiences like to do a lot of the time. Because if it's silent, pretty much somebody will always go, "Fucking A, man," or something, intelligent to that effect. Next bass line I'm going to talk about is from this album right here. And yes, the album is called Hell by James Brown. It's recorded in 1974, and it also has an equally amazing back cover. And what is happening on the back cover here? It's basically looks like the devil, and James Brown, the devil is basically wrestling with a demon or something, and James Brown has got the devil behind him, and one of the devils says, "He's too strong, we can't stop him." And the other devil says, "That's because he's the Godfather." Obvious, right? So this album came out in 1974, and the whole album is awesome. Really, I have this CD. It's a Japanese import. I remember the vinyl being vastly expensive, even when I bought it in the 90s. I don't know if there's a reissue or not. If there is, buy it immediately. This is one of James Brown's best records, and it is the record that came out the year after The Payback, which is also a great record. And I think the bass player on this, whose name is Charles Sherrell, also plays on that record. This record has some great songs on it. The one I'm picking is called I Can't Stand It, quote, 76. I don't know what the hell that means, but it's an awesome song. It's 8 minutes long, and the bass playing on it is absolutely incredible, as it is on a lot of James Brown records. ways it's more or less the anchor. While the drums are the anchor, the bass seems to play off of the drums a lot on the 2 and the 4, which is very interesting. On this particular song, Charles Sherrell is playing some really super nice punctuated riffs, and there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, but he manages to find exactly the space where you can hear him. And the bass is up nice and loud in the mix too. It's just phenomenal. I don't even know how it happens because there's so many people playing, but nobody's playing on top of each other. It's super syncopated. And also, if you buy the CD, you get this on the inside, which is something everybody should have. And it's also got a song on it, which is phenomenal. It takes up entire side of a record. And that song is called Papa Don't Take No Mess. And I believe the drums in this have been sampled endlessly because the riff is really cool. So the battery just ran out on the camera, so I'm finishing this on a phone. How sci-fi does that sound? Anyway, I was talking about why did I only pick bass players between 1967 and 1974, and it's simple. That's just what I've been listening to. So that's all I got for you. Remember to like and subscribe because it helps the channel grow. You can check out my Patreon page. You can go to my Bandcamp page. And you can love me on Instagram. And you can also buy me a cup of coffee. The links are below to all the relevant material contained within here. I'll send you to people's websites and stuff like that. And don't forget to click the link for this one and only drawing of most famous bass player of the 20th century, Carol Kaye.